Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics, and today we wanted to share with you some money-saving tips, some things we've been doing in our fish room since we've had it. Some of the stuff we've talked about before, so we've got some videos out there, and as I go through the list, if we've got a video out there, I'll make sure I mention it and put either the link in the description or a card somewhere over here in the corner. But fish keeping is a lot of fun, but it can get a little bit expensive. So what we're going to do today is share with you some of the ways that we've been able to make fish keeping a little bit less expensive and hopefully make you more successful in the hobby. So stay tuned. All right, so the first thing, and we've got a video out about this, it's looking at the types of lids that you have on your fish tank. If you're going to be keeping multiple fish tanks, maybe it would be nice to use the polycarbonate lids and order those and cut those to size rather than using glass. We go over the pros and cons of doing both, so we'll have a link to that video in the description. The next thing, again, if you've got multiple tanks, you might want to consider using sponge filters instead of using multiple hang on the backs or multiple canister filters. Again, this is something we've talked about in the past, so we'll have a video out there for you to watch, but it's certainly something to consider. The next one, I'm not sure is quite as obvious, and it's something we've been promoting now since our channel started, and that is the local fish clubs. Local fish clubs are awesome, and they can save you money for a lot of reasons. Reason number one, often the local fish clubs will have auctions and you might be able to get fish super cheap and they'll be really healthy and you know where they came from because the person who is bringing them to the club has bred them. And I have never, ever, not once had a sick fish from a local club. That's a huge money saver because I don't have to buy medications. I'm not worried about ick. And once you've had to treat fish using meds, you'll see how expensive that gets. And it's not something we're used to having to do anymore because we get our fish from local clubs. A lot of the time. We still also use our local fish stores because they're an important part of the hobby as well. The other thing that local fish clubs do for us that I think gets overlooked is knowledge. The more you learn, the easier it is to keep fish, the fewer mistakes you're going to have, and the more money you're going to save. It might save you from buying the wrong equipment or mixing the wrong fish and having some expensive fish die. Or maybe having some fish that really don't go together because they have different diet requirements or different temperatures or just enjoy a different environment. That saves money. And so sometimes the local fish clubs, they keep you from spending a lot of extra money that you don't need to spend. The other thing that you could consider is if you are looking to put sand in a tank, pool filter sand, that's something again that we've talked about in the past, and so we've got a video that I'll either put in the description or in a card over on the right hand side. There are some drawbacks to pool filter sand, but by and large, it's way cheaper. You can get a 50-pound bag for about $10. So again, it's something to consider. The other thing that you can do is look on Craigslist. So we've got a beginner's guide to keeping fish, and we talk a little bit about where to get fish tanks, where to get fish. Craigslist is an option for used tanks. It can sometimes save you money, but again, I would encourage you to watch that video just because it might, we're going to go over more than just, hey, it's a great idea to save money. We'll look at the pros and cons of that as well. The other thing that you might want to look at is how do you heat your tanks? If you're starting to get a lot of tanks, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, individual heaters might be getting expensive, and it may actually, you may run into problems with how much load a particular circuit can handle. And so for us in the basement, we finally went to heating the basement, and that has driven down the cost of heating our tanks considerably. If you look around our fish room, right behind me, our stands. We've built almost every single stand that our tanks sit on, we've built ourselves. That can save a lot of money, especially when you begin to double stack tanks or triple stack tanks. You can save a lot of money by building your own stands. Not only that, you get the stands and the heights of the tanks exactly where you want them because you're the one building them. You set your own dimensions. Again, I've shown you how to build stands in the past. We'll put a link down in the description, but it's a great way to potentially save a lot of money, build a much stronger stand the way that you want it. I think one of the first videos we did on how to save money in the hobby was filter floss. So if you've got hang on the back filters or even a canister filter where you're using filter floss, you can just buy filter floss in bulk. And so I will definitely put a link to that video in the description, but it can save those cartridges that you put in the hang on the back filters, they're costly. And if you're changing those out every couple of weeks, that can start to add up over the course of a year. So definitely using your own filter floss, buying it in bulk can save a lot of money. Even something like breeding your own fish. And so for us, yes, we breed fish because we like to share the fish with our club members, and we'll sell them at auctions through local clubs. But breeding fish can save you money, not only because you're making money for the hobby, but for us, we breed Bristlenose Plecos. And when you have almost 50 tanks in your fish room, and we rely heavily on Bristlenose to help keep our tanks maintained, along with what our responsibility is as fish keepers, but those Bristlenose do a great job. And rather than go to a store and pay $4, $5, $6 a piece for them, I can just breed them. And then I can just take them out of our breeder tank and throw them in the tanks that we need. And I didn't have to spend any money other than the money it took to feed the fish. Even water changes. A while back, we did a video on how we do water changes in our fish room. It's something I think we should update because things have changed a little bit. But one of the popular pieces of equipment is that Python system where you can hook it up directly to your sink, and it will take the water, put it in your sink. Well, ours broke, and when that happened, we had to actually, I didn't want to buy a new one and spend the $60 or $75 it took to buy a new Python system. So I took the pieces over to Lowe's, matched them up with pieces of PVC and what they had there. And for about $8, I was able to build my own sink connector and then the hose I already had. So that's definitely a way to save a little bit of money. When we start looking at inside the tank, we talked about sand, but what about rocks? What about wood? Rocks. Go to your local landscaping place. Rather than pay $3, $4, $5 a pound, what about 15 to 20 cents a pound, maybe 30 cents a pound for rocks? And now again, you have to make sure that the rocks you're buying are safe for the fish that you're keeping. But we've got sandstone in some of our tanks with our cichlids, and they enjoy that extra water hardness. We test them out and we soak them and make sure that we're not getting a lot of particulate matter in the water. There are acid tests that you can do to make sure that you're not going to get an unnecessary amount of carbonate hardness. You got to watch out for iron, but if you know what you're looking for, buying river rocks at a landscaping place is going to save you an incredible amount of money. Even driftwood. Again, you have to make sure that the wood that you find is safe, and you have to boil it, make sure it's not going to contaminate your tank full of some kind of an infection. But it can definitely save money if you know what you're looking for to find your own wood, your own pieces of driftwood. When it comes to lighting, there are cheaper alternatives. Costco sells lights that are 4 feet long that are LEDs. Most of the big box stores, Lowe's and Home Depots of the world, they sell 4-foot LED lights that are typically much cheaper than what you would find for specific aquarium lights. If you're not growing plants, hey, you don't really have to worry about the magnitude of the light or the intensity of the light. If you are growing plants, some lights might be better than others, but you can almost always find videos on YouTube that will tell you, hey, this particular light from this store did a great job of growing plants, and check that out. Even the plants themselves, plants can actually save you money, believe it or not, because if you have plants in a tank, that's going to reduce the nitrates in your tank. So if you're going to do plants, or whether you're going to do fake plants or live plants, if you're going to do live plants, that can actually save you money because it can reduce the number of nitrates in your tank. It can reduce the amount of water changes you have to do, and so that can be helpful. If you've got ways that you've saved money in the past, definitely share that in the comments below. So those are just some of the ways that we have saved money over the years in our fish room, and it's worked out well for us. We haven't had any issues with what we've done so far. So if you like this video, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.